Hello and welcome to the Road to Rec League podcast. I'm Callum, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about my first proper team practice. That's right, pretty special episode. I think last week I mentioned that I'd signed up for a team or was going through the paperwork to join a team or something similar. And while that's still being processed, the actual registration's been distributed, or pictures and money and all that sort of good stuff that you have to do when you're joining a rec league team in the UK. That's all done. Now I get into the fun part where I get to go and actually practice and join the ice with teammates. So I'm going to have a bit of fun talking about my first proper training session with the team and also the learn to play from the weekend prior. I'm recording this as of Friday. I've got a weekend away, so a little bit challenging to record while I'm not present in my house, honestly, with the bit of a setup that you need to do this sort of stuff and have it sound okay. So, just get that balance right, do it a couple of days early. You still schedule it for Sunday. But so this week's episode is being recorded slightly early. We're also going to very briefly at the end touch on the Jets, but it is going to be really quick, and that's probably for my own mental wellness, actually. After a pretty rocky couple of weeks, excuse me, still got the remnants of the cold from last week, but it's pretty much gone for the most part. Where do we start? Let's do it chronologically. Let's start with the Learn to Play from last Sunday. Really enjoyed it. I have put a bit of time and effort into working on something as recommended to me by a good online friend from Canada land, excuse me, who was basically saying, after seeing some footage of my scrimmage the other week, they were like, right, these are the things you've got to work on, stopping and starting, like just hammer that into you until it's really second nature, and make that the focus of your skating work at the moment. So I went away and did that on a Monday, put the effort in, trying my best to pick those skills up, I guess, and then the following Sunday was able to apply that. And it made a noticeable difference being comfortable stopping. So just getting out on the ice skating generally, feeling a bit more comfortable. Still bottom half, well in the bottom half of skaters in terms of technical side of it. I think just general having a go-ness is I'm definitely improving. I'm definitely getting, a little further along. I'm getting a bit more stuck in. I'm able to put a bit more effort in. Stopping is still a weakness. That's why I'm still working on that. But from this Learn to Play session, I did take two things actually. One was I've seen the progression of my confidence over the last 3 months. And it's getting to a point now where I feel like I can get involved and get stuck in and start to really impact a game, I guess. And I think in the last episode, I talked about hitting the post. This week brought my first goal. Now, there is an asterisk. It was an empty net goal because the goalie who was in there ended up getting injured. And so it was basically we were playing with empty nets. However, it wasn't just like I got it set up for me and tapped it in on the line sort of thing. I actually worked on the goal, I guess, by forechecking, essentially. So just to paint the picture or set the scene, the two defensemen are, inside their own, inside the defensive zone, and they're looking to break out. And I see one of them holding who has the puck. They're sort of taking their time, and they're not really moving with any urgency. So I sort of, go for a bit of a hard forecheck, excuse me, and put my stopping into practice because I skate up fairly quickly. Notice he's going for the pass. Stop as quickly as I can, which is not massively fast, but I did stop. And I stuck a stick out, and I put my stick in a passing lane, which interrupts the pass. I'm like, oh, fantastic. Pass interrupted. Puck's now pretty much on the end of my stick. Not quite. I've got to corral it, bring it in. So I do that and go sort of a bit of puck handling between the two defensive players. Nothing crazy, just to keep the puck away from them and put it into the open ice. And it sort of went so forehand, backhand, and chipped it very gently through the gap. And then I practiced my starting because obviously I was very, very slow, having just stopped. And then a bit of an aggressive burst from me, which, is probably other people's coasting. And I was away. I had an empty net. I guess in my mind, I earned the empty net goal. It wasn't just, a tap in on the line. But yeah, so it was really cool to actually put the puck in the net and really earn that. And I think that was pretty cool. And then I guess another thing that probably I got from it was I did a nice little breakout play where I sort of I picked up the puck. We were being pressed. We were in our own zone. I pick it up. sort of shuffle over to my left. So sort of going from our end to the other end on the left-hand side. But the puck is on my backhand pass out to a guy who's our lefty who's going up the left-hand side, and then I follow the play. So I make the pass, and then again working on the start, put a burst of energy in. I'm pretty sure someone from the bench made an ooh sound because they were surprised I was doing that. Not because it was good, just to be clear. It's about expectations thing, I think. and followed the play, and okay, that guy went on to try and finish it himself and didn't quite work out, but I was there. I was an option. I made myself an option, and I was really, really pleased with that too. So Learn to Play was great. It set the tone. On a Sunday night, I love doing a Sunday night, and then the next day I'm motivated to go to my public skate, which obviously I did. More time and effort working on stopping and starting, trying to reap the rewards of that. I'm going to dedicate my time to doing that and transitioning to backwards. I actually tried my very first transition to backwards facing the other way. That's hard. And that's going to take a bit of time. And I'm also working on slowing and stopping with my left leg leading. I'm usually lead with my right leg, so that's the one that really bites into the ice when I'm working on these like hockey stops and stuff. And I have a weak side and a strong side, and I want to start developing my weaker side. So that's going to take time, obviously. It's taken me 3-4 months to get a strong side hockey stop of sorts from an average speed. So I know it's going to take time to develop. I want to put the work in now. So that's coming together nicely too. All of that then, I suppose, leads into Wednesday. So Wednesday rolls around, I finish work, practice, 11:15 at night, and because of where I work in relation to where I live, it's like a 3-hour drive. Not quite, I am exaggerating. I think it was 2 hours and 42 minutes. I did stop, just to get some water, I think it was, and just stretch a little bit. But yeah, so it's a bit of a long drive, but I got to the rink, and I basically asked where I needed to go, ended up in the locker room, and sort of met, I guess, most of the team for the first time. I'd met a couple of people at some of the sort of open stuff they do down there, like the stick and puck session the other week, and things like that, and the scrimmage, the organised scrimmage. There were a few people there too. But this is my first time in what I would refer to as like a team locker room environment, and it was awesome. Smiling just thinking about it in a funny way, because it's sort of everything you see behind the scenes or in films and stuff like that. It's kind of real. It's a bunch of people who are, coming together. It's 11:15 at night, so there's a level of commitment there already, but they're committed to honing their craft, getting involved, having a nice time, learning, and putting in the time essentially. And we got some fantastic skaters in that room, and me basically, definitely right at the bottom end of the skill level there. But that's, I guess, that's how you learn. One thing I really believe in, I guess there are two linked things I believe in. One, you learn by doing. So getting involved in the drills was really important to me, and not really holding back. And then the second part is that you get better by surrounding yourself with people who are better than you. If you're the big fish in a small pond, you do limit and stifle your growth. You don't have that growth mindset, and you don't see the art of the possible in quite the same way. Whereas, if you're surrounded by people who have the experience of doing better than you, and then I think you pick up from that, even if it's just via osmosis to a degree, but also from the tips they give and the time they'll offer you. So, firm believer in those two things. Joining back to the locker room. Really cool. Just getting dressed, having somewhere to sit, plenty of room. Cardiff's a great rink. So someone puts on some music. It's the classic rock and metal stuff, and you're just like, yeah, okay, I feel like this is where it feels like environment appropriate. I think some of my slightly whinier, sad acoustic music probably wouldn't have gotten people hyped to skate. But so anyway, get all that sorted out. Say hello to a couple of people, and then player coach comes in and stands up and basically calls people to the front to talk through the drill. So the way that the practice session worked, essentially, or training session worked, was so the first part was get out on the ice, warm up, loosen up. You get a couple of minutes of doing that. Then the first drill is effectively like a King of the Hill or Last Man Standing kind of thing, Royal Rumble, whatever, where everyone's in face-off dots. You look after your puck. You got to try and get other people's pucks out. I think I talked about that at the Learn to Plays as well. Boy, did I get pretty brutally done in. I will say this much: I'm pretty pleased with my stick lifts. They're coming on strong. I feel like that part of my game is going pretty well. My skating does mean puck protection is difficult. I got caught out a couple of times, basically just because I couldn't move my feet quick enough, if anything. I actually think hands-wise I'm okay, but that definitely let the side down. It was good fun, and I'm learning every time I go out there, so can't complain. So basically, we talked us through the drill. We did that, and then we did a 5-on-0 to 3v2. 3-on-2, and I'll talk through that in a second as well. But I just wanted to touch on, before we get into too much more detail, is the intensity. It was pitched just right for 11:15 at night, where there's a level of commitment and intensity and desire to push and learn and do the drill, try new things, all that sort of good stuff. But it wasn't to the point where it was uncomfortable and like someone was yelling at me for being shit. I think there was an acceptance of progression and growth. If you were willing to put the effort in, that's what stood out and that's what mattered, which I'm really happy with. So it just felt like really perfectly pitched. So onto the drill then. I'll try again and paint the picture. It's quite difficult to do as someone who's not familiar with talking through drills, honestly, and also doesn't have I don't have a whiteboard and a pen to hand, so I can't draw the motions. But I'm going to try and talk you through the motions because I think it is quite interesting to understand, from the perspective of a beginner like myself, how these drills have been sort of explained to me and how we work through them. So simply put, excuse me, the three forwards are on the blue line, lined up, left wing, centre, right wing, in pretty spread out position. So wingers on the boards, centre down the middle. Both facing the three forwards and effectively, in their standard positions over by the goal. And the centre dumps the puck in. And at this point, you're all playing together. It's 5-on-0. And it's almost like recovery, right? So you're working on picking the puck up in your zone and then transitioning with speed. So puck gets dumped in. Wingers and centre basically skate a path. So the winger on the side it gets dumped into, heads down, stops, stands on the, sort of is by the boards waiting for the puck. The winger on the other side has a bit of a wider loop to be able to be an outlet pass option. And then the centre basically cuts across the front of the net and is an outlet pass option for the winger on the boards. At that point, it's then effectively head up play, release a pass, and you sort of come back outside of the blue line. So it's almost like treating it like you're offside. So then you exit the zone and come back in again, sort of overlapping, crossing arches, trying to create this sort of fluid motion to break up a defensive structure, and then you attack 3v2, and that lasts maybe say 30 seconds, and then invariably you either score, the goalie freezes it, or the defense clear it. So that's basically the structure for the drill, and we did that for I want to say 10-15 minutes or so. It's really good, actually, maybe 10 minutes. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it, and I got to. It's the first time I've really had any of that sort of positional training, I guess, and I got to actually get involved in playing a position. So first, I was hoping to sort of just work my way into the middle. But basically, first time up, I watched the first group do it, understood the drill, and then got stuck in straight away because that's the only way I learn, really. It's that learn by doing thing again. And ended up someone just being like, yeah, go to the middle. I'm like, okay, sounds good. So I dumped the puck in, start the loop, and away we go. And it was actually really good. Good to get involved. Definitely, again, the things it's highlighting, and this is nothing new. We're on, episode 10 now? Skating, really important, and a weakness of mine. But take that aside, finding space on the ice, the vision side of it, I think I'm okay at. I'm still a bit awkward on my feet, so positioning myself is hard. If I could put myself where I want to be, sort of, when I want to be there, I think I'd be better. So if you know what I mean, I don't feel like my brain is letting me down. Just my feet are. So we worked through this drill a few times. I had a really good time. Played each of the wings and centre role throughout that as well. Got to experience each of the roles individually, which was great. Again, really good to have that. A couple of crispy passes, a couple of drop passes, things like that. Driving the net, being an outlet in the slot. Just trying a few different things, I guess. And that was really, really enjoyable. And then also one of them was sort of, for me, was when the defensive pair maybe recovered the puck, it's positioning myself to be able to prevent a breakout the other way and try and keep them hemmed in the zone. That was something else I tried a few times. I think I was successful once. But again, it's a feet thing, I think, more than anything else. So that was a really cool set of drills. And then we moved into the scrimmage, which was probably one of the best scrimmages I've had, not in terms of what I was able to do, but in terms of how it was organised, the level of intensity and the just the quality of the play. Actually, I think was way up there. So how did it work? We had I think it was a 90-second timer or a 100-second timer that would go through the arena's sound system. So there was that, plus then like a 10 beeps and a whistle to give you a 10-second warning for when you had to basically do a shift change. So everyone was doing 90 seconds to 100-second shifts. And that meant there was no dilly-dallying. It took all the uncertainty away. It gave you that kind of, okay, well, I know I'm going to get a pretty even share of time with whoever's out here. And each team basically had 2 forward lines and 2 defensive pairs. And so you were on the ice loads. It was a really good workout. We had one extra. I think each side maybe had a spare forward, so you could kind of rotate a little bit when someone was getting a bit tired. So if you sat a shift, or if you sat back-to-back shifts, you'd be in for the next couple. And it just worked really, really well, actually. And everyone was friendly, offering advice. And I sort of said, how does this work? How do the changes work? And they're like, oh, it's automated. You're not always going to be in the same lines, if you like. But have a chat with the people on the ice, communicate, find open space, and then figure out positions from there. And so I ended up on a wing a couple of times. I ended up playing down the middle a couple of times. And again, it's the first time where I felt like I had the opportunity to be responsible and learn some of those positional elements, which was really cool, actually. What was particularly good was actually, again, if my feet keep up, I could see things happening and I could know where I wanted to be, and I just couldn't get there necessarily all the time. And when I did get there, then I was able to do something. But just the number of times I would see someone open in the slot, and I'd be like, oh, I just wish I had the legs to keep up with this guy as he's attacking, because then they're not going to have any opportunity, let alone a half chance. And to be fair, most of the time I was able to get there before anything happened, tie up a stick, make a nuisance of myself, and just generally be in the way of the opposition more often than not. Got a really good piece of advice during the training session as well to keep my head up, and also just think about time. So when someone says you got time, for me that's like, okay, I got like 2 or 3 seconds before someone's barreling down on me, because the kind of hockey I'm used to watching, it's very, very cramped and crowded, and you don't get a good amount of time on the puck. I'm realizing that's not always the case, and sometimes it's okay to just stop for a second and just actually possess the puck, move with the puck, and then wait for an opportunity, wait for someone to become open. I'm still very much rushing it. Now, when I do rush it and the instincts kick in, I seem to do okay, but it's just when I could have more time and I could evaluate a play a bit better, that's when I'm probably letting myself down a bit. But man, what a great experience. Unfortunately, I can't do every single Wednesday night, which I am gutted by, but just work won't allow it, essentially. However, well, not that they won't allow me to, just my scheduling doesn't work. I should be clear on that. However, I am going to be out Wednesday next week, which is awesome. And in between now and then, I think I've got, 5 days on the ice so it's 5 skates in 8 days, 6 skates in 9 days, I think, coming up from this Sunday onwards. So it goes like Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Monday. I'm pretty sure that's my routine for the next sort of week and a bit. So I'm really hoping that I'm going to be fit and healthy and able to put time and effort in on my skating. A few of those are public skates, a few of those are scrimmages and training sessions, and a couple of them are the learn to play. So it should be a nice breadth of experiences, and most importantly, that right there is like 9 to 11 hours on the ice. And that's 9 to 11 hours that I get value from because I'm so early on in my learning curve. I'm far from plateauing. So those 9 and 11 hours make a big difference for me. Right. So that's that, really. The drive home was a bugger, I'll be honest. It was only an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. But the problem I had was the second I went to sit in the car, I put one leg in the car and then started cramping up. Immediately cramping up. And I had to stretch before I left, and I had to stop after about 45 minutes, get some food and stretch. And I feel like I need to sort of have a game plan, I guess, for my trip home, so that I am less tired while driving and less sore while driving. And I'll learn how to balance that appropriately over time. But anyway, it was an amazing day. It filled me with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and I genuinely can't wait to get back out there. Right, so we've covered off my endeavours. Let's talk about the Jets. Slightly less enthusiasm, unfortunately, on this one. It's been a tough road trip so far. Was it like 1 win in 5? So they lost last night to Seattle, and it was rough. That was a rough game to watch because they had a pretty good showing against Vancouver. I was really pleased with that as a result. Necessarily, it wasn't a perfect game, but it was a pretty good game. Boy, was that Seattle effort hideous, absolutely atrocious, and it made it hard to watch. So my 3 bullet points then, because I'm going to stick with the format that's working so far. 1, the Jets are lacking team speed. And I don't necessarily mean just individuals, I mean intensity. I don't feel like they are the same at the same level of intensity and compete, as Arniel would say, that they were last year. There's a lot of straight legs, people missing their assignments, and I feel like that's kind of broken a layer of trust, and so people aren't trusting that other people have their assignments, and then that starts to break down the structure that was so good last year that they relied on so heavily. Teamed with that is focus. They go through patches of playing, some good hockey, and then it's just dropping off immediately. And I wonder how much of it is how they lost last year impacting how they are today. I know they didn't go very far. I know they got knocked out the second round, but the way that they got knocked out the second round was heartbreaking. The way they got through the first round was emotionally draining and physically clearly impactful. They're bringing in some new pieces, obviously. They've got returning pieces. I mean, Sandberg played a blinder, thankfully. Or I say a blinder, he played a good game. Just can't carry the team, can he? So, I just feel like I wonder if they're missing a step with their sort of focus and intensity levels, as well as actual speed on the ice. And I guess it's not just what you're doing with your feet, but what's in between your ears. And the last one is slightly concerning, given how much I was talking about the positivities that I'd seen within Taves, but actually I was made aware of some recent analysis that suggests he has some very poor underlying advanced stats with things like his expected goal share percentage or something being 35%. 50% is breaking even, essentially. So that's kind of where you'd want him to be at a minimum. He's not there. And I saw a graphic that talked about like high danger chances against versus for, and it's not looking particularly solid. My hope is that he builds up over the course of the season. Okay, it's not going so well at the moment. When the team's in a slump, that's not going to help. If the team was riding high, would he be in a more confident position potentially? And I also think adding a scoring winger to his line, so it's someone Taves, Perfetti, may well get more out of him as well. I just feel like he's going to be a distributor and a kind of see the game kind of guy, and Perfetti probably needs to shoot a little bit more. But yeah, anyway, those are my 3 things: team speed, focus and intensity, and Jonathan Taves' underlying stats looking a little bit patchy. That's it for this. Oh, hang on a second. I've missed off the reason I was going to name the episode what I've named it, because I got a bit too excited talking about the scrim. So we're going to cut back to that now, and I'll leave this in at the end. This is why this episode's called The Gauntlet. So end of the training session on Wednesday comes around, and basically someone turns around, I think it was the player coach, said, right, we've got to do a gauntlet. And apparently they do this with new people, but I think it's a fantastic drill to be putting into most training sessions. Essentially, everyone lines up, say, 1.5 feet away from the boards. Maybe 2 feet. Probably a bit less. And the person at the front of the queue turns around and skates between the players and the boards, getting body checked by each person on the way through. And you rinse and repeat until everyone has been body checked on the way through. I think it's fantastic. It's such a simple little thing, but it brings people together. Everyone was having a good laugh. There was a good bit of scrapping and intensity, and I actually was complimented by one of the stronger guys for having a decent check for a beginner, which was really cool. But he was sort of like saying to me, it introduces you to the contact side of the sport. Now, we play non-checking hockey, but you're going to get knocked over. You've still got to go and muscle someone out of the way at the net front. And I'm in my head, I was like, okay, well, it's get low, drive with the legs, right? That's got to be the way to do it. And it seems like it went down pretty well. I really, really enjoyed it, and it was nice to get. I love that competitive nature of it as well. You know, you want to knock that person back, or not be knocked back. So yeah, basically two people just constantly butting shoulders all the way through the line. But it was awesome, so much fun, and I hope they do it facing the other way so I can work on my other shoulder as well. All joking aside, it was genuinely really good. It brought people together. We all had a good laugh. Right, I should wrap it up here. Thanks ever so much for listening. The usual applies: like, comment, subscribe, etc. Or, you know, leave a comment on Spotify, rate the podcast, follow along. Episode comes out every week. Next week, like I say, plenty of skating on the horizon. Should be good fun. But until then, hope you all have a lovely day wherever you are, and bye for now.